Hi, and welcome to the first video as part of the RHCE series. That's the Red Hat Certified Engineer series. As to be a Red Hat Certified Engineer, there's several requirements. One of them is that you have to pass the RHCSA exam. So I'd actually go through that previously in depth with my playlist. If you haven't already viewed that, you can check out the playlist in the link below. I'll just pop that as for info. So you'll be expected to be able to perform all the tasks of the RHCSA as part of the exam, and then you'll also need to understand the core concept of Ansible. So Ansible is a configuration management tool. It facilitates the task of setting up and maintaining remote servers. And it's got a very minimal design, so it's set up so it's pretty much just a command line interface, and pretty much just with using the command line interface we can just literally we can do almost anything. We can run DNF update on 25 servers or 2,000 servers. It's kind of it's very easy to scale as well, so you can obviously boost up the power of the Ansible, etc. But yeah, so it's a great tool to manage multiple servers. You can manage configuration files, you can run particular scripts. So I use it quite heavily in my day-to-day job. It's fantastic, to be honest, and it's a great tool to learn. So it's actually quite good that it was part of one of the Red Hat exams actually. So today's video will be focusing on the inventory perspective. So Ansible has a what's called an inventory. An inventory allows it to work out which nodes it is going to manage, and we can actually allow it to group particular nodes into relevant groups. So we could have a group, say these are our web servers, these are our whatever they could be, you know, these are our control nodes, these are our web servers, all that kind of thing. You can create quite easy methods to control that, and how you can have obviously multiple inventories and stuff like that. So you may have an inventory for one environment and an inventory for another environment. So if you're using a particular environment, you can switch between the different inventories, etc., etc. So I guess the first thing we need to probably do is, so let's install Ansible on the Ansible server. So the first thing we need to do is actually install the EPEL release, which is the actual repository. So we can actually download this on the server if you haven't already. So install that release to get the repository, and that's DNF install and then the URL. So I've just popped it in the comments below as well, so it's easy to run through. And then we can just do DNF install Ansible. Actually, I'll just do it clear. DNF install Ansible. Looks good. And then just wait for it to install. You may get a warning about the actual GPG key. You can accept that. It's a trusted one. Okay, so Ansible. Let's check if Ansible is installed okay. So we just do an Ansible ---- version, and we've got confirmation it's installed 2.9.17, and then the config file exists here, so we can see all that is good. So the next thing to do actually is to generate the SSH keys. So we can, because the way Ansible communicates is via SSH, and it will need to use your SSH keys to actually communicate. So you have to have the SSH key they're going to use for that user that you're executing Ansible with as trusted, so it'll be able to log into that other account without having to request a password every time. Otherwise it won't be very automated. You're going to have to type in a password manually every single time. So you can imagine that's going to be pretty laborious if you do that. So you can do SSH keygen, so it's the first step. So just do a clear here. Oops. SSH keygen. We can save the defaults. So you can have a passphrase if you want. Obviously in a production environment I recommend this. For now I'm just going to leave an empty, so we can use that key. So just create a SSH key, and that's the SHA-256 of that, and just a bit more information about the key there. So it's just like a picture of the randomization. So next thing would be to get the IP of our secondary node. So let me just go flip to that secondary node. This is the client. So on the client I need to find out what the IP address is of that client. There shouldn't be any prerequisites for the client apart from really Python. So it needs to be able to run Python scripts, but by default that sort of thing should be already there essentially. Let me just change the font quickly for this because it's a bit too small, and I'll leave the font like this so it's easy to tell. What we'll do is just do an if config, just get the IP, and okay, it's 10.02.8. Okay. So from this one, just do a ping. Okay, so that looks good. Let's just check our if config. So ours is 2.7 and theirs is 2.8. So cool. So we've done the keygen. So now we just do SSH copy ID root at, and it's 10.02.7. So you get a warning that the authenticity of the host cannot be established. That's because you've never collected that host before via SSH, and you haven't pre-installed the actual certificate. So we can just log in with the password now. So we can do a quick test to make sure that's worked. Easiest way is just do an SSH to that node, and we're straight into it. So it looks good. Did I copy it to the wrong node? Yes. Yes. Let's go and do it to the right node. Okay. Right, yeah, I copied it to the right one now. So we should be able to test that. Root. You don't have to specify the user if we already connected that user, but anyway, we'll just do it like this for now. Whoops. Put the right IP in, and we're straight in, and that's the correct host now. Yeah, that was good. Okay, so we can exit that and clear. So that's Ansible set up. So we've got communication between the two nodes for now. So the next thing is to talk about is the inventory itself. So we've got in our lab, we've only got one node at the moment. We could obviously have multiple nodes if we just do more cloning. Yeah, we can do that at a later point as required. So by default, our inventories are located in etc. Ansible, and then we have a host file. And you can see it's got actually a bit of information about how it's actually collected. So we can see, for example, if we go to the very top here, we've got just some ungrouped hosts. So we can see we've specified just the DNS names in this case. We've also got just IP addresses, and then here we've got some collections. So This is a grouping, so we could potentially say I want to just target all the web servers, and then it will target these 4 servers. And you can specify a multiple host following a pattern, so you can say from 1 to 6 in that list, for example. You can have a collection of database servers. Again, that's another good example. So what we do is, it's generally good practice to not use that. You could obviously configure your ansible.config to point to another file, but probably the safest way is to generate a per project directory that stores the inventory files. Obviously, maybe in some cases you may have a pretty static inventory, and you can just create a single inventory file and just have Ansible have at it at that file every time. But yeah, so we can just do, in our case, we'll just create a per project one. So we'll just create one called inventory 101. So just cd into there, created the file structure. Let's just actually create an inventory file. Let's call it just inventory, vi inventory. Create a new line, and we literally just need the IP or the DNS name entered in here. So we're just going to create an ungrouped for now, just a very simple inventory. So 10.0.2.8, that was our server, and right quit. And then we can double check this with Ansible-inventory, and then it was -i to specify the exact inventory file, otherwise it's going to use the default as I showed you earlier. And then we'll just do a -- list, and we'll just double check our inventory file and just make sure it looks good. As you may notice, it's come out in a different format. This is what they call the YAML markup language, which is yet another markup language. It's kind of going back and around itself. So yeah, so it's just ungrouped at the moment. It's just a ungrouped host and 10.0.2.8. So we can do Ansible ping command, and let's see if that works. Ansible, and we say all -i inventory, and just doing -m. So that's the a custom set particular module, and the module we're going to use is ping. And you can see we've got a success message. It's also come up in green, so it obviously helps. And we've got a ping, and then we've got a pong. That means it's come back. And with Ansible, there are actually the way it works is using things called playbooks, which I'll go through in detail in a bit in the future videos. But these essentially give it the commands to run on the end systems. It also may have actions for the Ansible server to do, so maybe some calculations or groupings or something like that. It may need to work out, it may say do the group 1 first of servers, and it may start the script for those servers, and then once it's completed all the scripts for those, and then it will run the second group. Something like that could be in the playbook. It also can do things like update passwords and all that sort of stuff. It all depends on the Ansible module. So there's a hell of a lot of modules. There's like there's YUM modules. I think there probably is a DNF module. There's all kinds of modules out there that allow you to do all kinds of system functions, and most of them are pre-built into Ansible. And it's all documented on the if you search literally Ansible, and there's an Ansible documentation page hosted by the Ansible project team, and it gives a lot of detail on all the different modules you can use. And I just use one there, just the ping module, and you can see some are very simple and some of these are extremely in depth, and they have almost their own documentation for these particular scripts. So let's go a bit more detail into the inventory. So let's now group as servers. So what I'll do is I'll do clients, and then I'll just do let's say web servers. Okay, and then we'll just give it a name of, let's give it another IP, 10.02.9, 10.02.10, and then we'll have www.1, so let's just call it www1 www1.webservers dot c.local www2. So obviously these are fictional web servers. So just call it, actually just call it 1 and 2, make it easier for this. So let's call it server 1. Sorry, this is me being a bit finicky, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, server1.webservers.rhce.local, just a fictional DNS name I've just created. But you can see how the groupings would be there. So you can see there's the clients group, web servers, and you could potentially specify just the those groups. So if we run that Ansible inventory command again, so -i inventory and then -- list, we should get as a web servers group. So it's not in ungrouped anymore. There we go, and we can see these are the web servers, these are the clients. You can see all the different names, etc. And we've got different children, so we've got the clients children and the web servers children, and then finally ungrouped, which doesn't have anyone in it anymore at the moment. And obviously you could have a mixture, so you could have just ungrouped servers, you could have stuff in particular groups, etc. Just to make it more complex, you can also group multiple groups into further children. So you could have a parent group, and then you can have a subgroup. So let's just do another example. So go back into the inventory. Let's do a modify on this. Let's just do modify here. Just do web servers non-prod, say. Okay, and then what do is and just do web servers prod. Oh. And copy all of it. Oh well. 2.10 say. Okay. So we've got the prod ones, we've got non-prod, and we can also have let's call it DB servers. And then non-prod. And then let's do another, just do one IP for this one. 11. And then let's do DB servers hyphen prod. and 10.02.12. Okay, and then you can see the pattern there. We've got prod and non-prod. In some cases you may want to do well, in most cases you want to do a patch in non-prod first, make sure it works, restart the services, all that sort of stuff, all that good stuff, or do your PVT, etc. And then you want to do it in prod post that. So then you can actually group these inside. So we can do a let's type it out nicely, non-prod children. Okay, so the important bit is this line here with the colon, and then we just type in the name of the sibling of the children of this parent group that's going to be here. So we've got non-prod, so we're going to get this one without the bracket, without square brackets. Paste here, and web servers db servers and non-prod. Copy here, paste here. Cool. And let's do make it easy for myself, and square brackets, okay, here, and then we're just going to copy those names again, just the prod ones. Okay, copy, paste, enter, and then copy, paste, enter. Okay, so that should be. So then we can just confirm our logic is working okay. So let's see, there's a warning there. Invalid characters. So maybe it doesn't like this command, these characters here. Did it complain before? Oh, I didn't have a dash in there. So we'll listen to what it says. Let's have a look. So I'm going to just say, unfortunately I have to modify the whole lot. So let's just do it like this. It's fairly quick. So I just need to modify here as well, otherwise these things are not going to match up. Okay. So don't use dashes there. Here's the lesson there, I think. Let's see. Yep, there's no error message now. So we can see clients there. We can see the DB servers prod, non-prod. We can see that's all matched up. So we've got prod, non-prod, and prod there. We can see non-prod has got some children, which is the two non-prod groups. We can also say the prod groups are here, and we've got the web servers non-prod and prod, and all of them are actually these clients. So you can see, actually quite clever, it's actually just said the all group. So if I select, say, all, I will actually apply to all these children, which are clients, non-prod, prod, and ungrouped. So I can actually just say now, if I want to ping just a particular group, I can say Ansible, and then clients -i inventory, and then -m ping, and it's just pinged that. So if I say prod, I'm going to get unreachable because these servers don't exist, but you get the idea. So we can see it's actually trying to reach out to 2.10 and 2.12, and obviously the server name as well specified. So you can see the mixed results there, and you can also see the coloring there. So it's come up in bold and red. So if I do an all, we should get very mixed results, as you can imagine. Okay, you can also set up aliases for servers. So this allows you to quickly identify a server without having to use a FQDN or DNS name, but it's be more of a name for the Ansible server to use to reference that server. It just allows us to obviously reference it in an easier way. So let's go through and do that. I'll just do it for one node. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get that. So we just call it client 1, okay, here, and then we just write Ansible underscore host and then equals. So then if I ask for client 1 at any point, it's actually going to reference the Ansible host, which is actually 10.0.2.8. So then I don't need to remember the IP address to specify anything against it. I can just use that. Obviously I can use the group itself, but if I have multiple groups and I want to just target one particular node, I can use that now. So now let's do that same command against client 1. And you can see it's also changed the output there. So it's come up as client 1. So if I do that clients again, so I always try to do a capital for the groups and then lowercase for the actual servers. It kind of helps differentiate between the two. So you can see now that the output no longer has the actual IP address. It's actually got a client 1. So it actually helps. Again, it helps me know what I'm actually looking at rather than just a load of IPs, which could be anything in some cases. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is host variables. So a host variable allows you to change the way Ansible actually works for those particular nodes. It could be in a group or it could be a specific server, for example. So as a great example, you could have, say these servers don't have a particular user and you need to use a different user to execute Ansible scripts on. You can actually specify the user inside here as a host variable, and it allows it Ansible every time it's going to execute a command on that, or it's going to try and connect that server or run a command on that server, it will actually use that alternative account rather than the default. So we can apply it at a particular a client. So again, let's do it here as an example. So we could do Ansible user equals, I think C England should be my valid one. Hopefully, we'll soon find out. And we'll try that same command again. So now we've got permission denied, which makes sense because now it's trying to connect via my account, C England, but we do not have the public key copied from this root account. So what we have to do is SSH copy ID C England at 10.0.2.8, my password. So I've got the account right, looks like. Now let's try that exact same command. Got success now, which is great. So one thing to be wary, of course, is that account is a regular user. Admittedly, it can sudo, but Ansible will not just do sudo by default. So you may need to have variables in case to get it to sudo. We will cover that in a later video, but I just thought I'd mention it here. We can apply this at the group level. So let's go back into the inventory. So we've got this Ansible user here. What may be more prevalent to do is actually create a vars for a group. So at the bottom here, we'll just add a new entry, and it will be clients colon again, and then vars, as in variables. And the variable will be Ansible underscore user equals C England. And let me remove the old data that I have there. That cleans it up. Oops, don't delete the IP, that won't work. And let's try that test again. So that's worked absolutely fine. What we'll do, so it works absolutely fine. So if we try an invalid user, just to make sure this value is working. So C England 2, oops, quit that. And I quit this. Just make sure it's broken now. Yep. So you can see it's using that value. So that works absolutely fine. So we'll leave that as it is for now. But you can imagine you can do different vars for each of those groups. So you could even have a non-prod and prod variables here. So you can set it at that level, or you can set it at the individual group or an individual server level. So it's very, very, very clever. This Ansible is very flexible in a myriad of different ways. Let's check our inventory. And you can see there as well. So they've got some metadata here, and we can see host vars. Client 1 has got this Ansible host and Ansible users set to it. And you should be able to see as the host, the client 1. So yeah, so there's the client hosts, and that's the client 1. And you've got a bit more information about all the different things configured there. I think the final thing I want to show you is how we actually target systems. So one thing, obviously, I showed you earlier, you can actually target an individual system. So there's a few things. So let me just start at the top. So let's continue doing the ping command. So Ansible, let's do all, and then -i inventory -m ping. Okay. So we're going to get some failures because we know half these clients don't even exist. But we can see that has targeted all the clients in the inventory. Okay. So if we do a clear, we now then can target a particular host. So that was client 1. And we've got a success message. We can also target 2 clients. So we could say, let me get another client quickly. Let's just do a cat inventory. Let's pick, there's none of them very nice names, is there? Let's do 10. Yeah, okay, let's do 10029. Okay, don't need to copy that. 10029. Okay. Let's clear that. Bring it back up here. So we can do multiple. We can do multiple hosts. So 10.02.9. So we'll try both those clients. And yeah, we know that doesn't work. That's fine. So we can target a group. So that was clients. And now target the clients group, and that's just client 1 in there at the moment. And we can also target multiple groups. We can even have the major groups as well, so clients and prod. Okay. So that's clients : prod. So I can even go to that high level as well. So I can say all the clients in prod, all the servers in prod, and then there's whatever servers are in clients as well. So I'll do both of those. And the final thing you can do is a little bit of clever logic. So you can say I only want to target the servers that are in prod, and they're also DB servers. So I need to get the exact name in here perfectly because this may cause issues otherwise. So what we're going to do is Ansible, okay, minus, so we're going to give the specification here. So group 1, so I want to say I only want servers that are in prod. I just want the servers that are in prod. So I'll just do prod. They have to be in prod, and then we do this. So colon and slash, and then ampersand or and sign. Then we just specify the other group. So in our example, it's not the greatest because we have really split it up already in the groups, but you may have not done. But yeah, it would be servers that are in both groups will only match. And then do minus I inventory, and then minus M ping. So just let me check that. It looks good. Yep, DB servers prod and the other group pod. So is it in both groups? We should go against 10.02.12, which it did exactly. That's fantastic. So yeah, that works nicely. So that just makes sure it has to be in the prod group and the DB servers prod group as well. So it could be just we could have just a DB servers group, and it would only target those DB servers. So that is literally all I want to discuss on the inventory. We'll continue further on the next video. Thank you. So that concludes the video. As always, I've popped on the screen now my Ko-fi page. That's a great place to donate if that's something you're interested in, to help support this channel. Also, I've put the TeePublic page for any merchandise I've got. So I've got a few t-shirts and stuff like that, if that's anything you're interested in. And finally, I've put my Discord server details, as well as in the description for these things, details, so you can chat there. I'll try and answer questions when I've got a spare few minutes, and try and help you out where I can. Thank you.